Chapter 4, The Mental Difference. I am my conditioning until I decide I'm not. Of those who read this book, not everyone will get it. Some will, some won't. What separates them? It's a mental difference. Only certain types of thinkers can change their paradigm. Conditioning it's a powerful thing, just like it was for my great-grandma. Whatever we get used to, even if it's not the best, becomes our comfort zone. And the hardest thing to change is how we think. Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about how wealthy people think. They don't think like the rest of us. Bill Gates doesn't think like your friend in the cubicle next door to you at work. There are some big differences. They're important. In fact, they're so important. You could say that it's your thinking that creates your life. All the thoughts you've entertained over the years have brought you to the place you're in today, wherever that may be. And it's the thoughts you think from here on out that will take you where you're going, financially and otherwise. That's a pretty scary thing for most of us. If you're caught in the time trap I was caught in, it's hard to imagine any other way of living. Not that we don't have fantasies of freedom now and then, but fantasies are fantasies, right? They live in some part of our brain that separates them from reality. They're what we think could not be possible. Not really. And so they float around and visit us occasionally while we concentrate on the tangible realities that we think we're stuck with. Many years ago, I was a social worker. I worked with parents who had abused their children. In the process, I discovered some things I didn't know before. First of all, I found out that people who abuse their kids don't really want to. Most of them aren't mean. They're programmed. They're conditioned. They were abused as kids themselves. So that's their reference point. It's buried in their brain. But in my classroom, they were open and even eager to learn new ways to handle their frustrations with their kids. They were good students. We had a lot of fun. I taught them new techniques, ways to communicate and discipline and express themselves when they were angry. And they came to class for 12 weeks, and we all enjoyed it. Things went fairly well with them as a rule the first few weeks after the class was over, but the pattern that eventually emerged, well, it was sad. Within a month or two, I'd get a call. It was Child Protective Services. They wanted me to testify in court. My students, now my friends, had gone back to their old ways, and the child was hurt. Parental rights were being terminated, and the old conditioning had returned. That's the devastating power of conditioning. It can take us down. It can rob us of the things we could have had, the happiness we might have found had we been able to get free of it. And that's true here as well. What has your financial conditioning been? Is debt a normal thing? Can you imagine realistically a life where you are free to set your own priorities and spend time with the people that you love and give to the causes that you want to prosper? Or is the future you envision pretty much the same as what you've known so far? It doesn't have to be. We live in a time of drastic change. Everywhere you look, the techno revolution is upon us, making possible amazing things that soon will become routine. Some of us will rise up and embrace the changes, while others will fall backward and try to hold on to what they've always known in order to avoid overwhelm. But whether we will take the risks and embrace the changes and enjoy the sweet rewards is a decision every one of us will make. But to stay the same is not to stay the same. It's a fact that life will pass you by if you don't flow with it. As someone told me once, it doesn't matter if we're on the right track. If we're not moving fast enough, the train's going to run us over. Conditioning keeps us stuck. Why does 95% of our population in these United States die broke? Right here, in the world's richest country? How is that even possible? Our conditioning tells us if I get an education and a good job, I'll be okay. Oops. Update your file. That era is gone. I heard a few days ago that most employees will change careers, not jobs, careers, 7 times during their lifetime. And the ranks of the self-employed are growing astronomically as the downsizing continues in corporate America. So the way I see it in this fast-paced and changing world, you're kind of on your own. The corporation's not going to adopt you. And if you think they have, you might want to think again. There's one thing you can count on, though. There's something you'll be every single day for the rest of your life, regardless of what else you are. You'll be a consumer. Whether or not that income stream you're creating is one you'll choose to share in is a personal decision. Some will and some won't. But it's a choice, and it will always have major consequences. The difference between those who do and those who don't will not be an external one. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, educated or uneducated, short or tall, rich or poor, sick or well. This business model does not exclude anyone. The only one who can exclude you is yourself. I almost did that. I thought I was too busy. I thought a single parent couldn't do it. I thought the odds of my success were less because I was a woman. I didn't think the people that I knew would understand it, and I was absolutely certain that I could not explain it to them. But one thing saved me. I listened to someone else's story. I met some people who were willing to share what they'd experienced, and some of them had started out with much less than I had, but they'd made it work, and they were tasting the rewards of freedom. Some of them were still shy. Some of them were really funny. I listened to them tell their stories sort of like a kid listens to a fairy tale, just hoping it was true and wondering if just maybe I could do it too. Here's what I found out. If we want to rise past our conditioning, we're going to need some serious help. We aren't going to make it on our own. Our conditioning will pull us down if we don't have another something to hang on to. The parents I worked with as a social worker did great when I was helping them. The class was opening up new possibilities and giving them more options and new ways of thinking and behaving that would make them happier. As long as that input was feeding them, their lives got better. But when the class was over, that was it. There were no monthly seminars or training sessions to strengthen their awareness and resolve. There were no teams to build their self-esteem, no one to call on when they were feeling weak and those old worn-out programs were returning. There wasn't any system to keep supporting them. So most of them, well, they just didn't make it. The great news is that regardless of your background or your circumstances, you don't have to be a slave to your conditioning. You can have the life you want. You can be free. You can even be rich. You can be happier than you've ever dreamed you could be. I know. I've done it. Okay, well, I wouldn't say I'm rich yet. I mean, some of the people I have worked with in this business make 6 figures every single month, which isn't something I've accomplished. It's still in the future for me, but that's what's amazing. It's in the future for me. And that makes the future something very different from what it used to be. It's in your mind. Every bit of it, the past, the future, what you've thought is what has made your life the way it is today. What you do now, it's up to you. Either your conditioning will make your future like your past, or you'll take advantage of a system that's designed to help you rise above it and create the life you want. Some will, some won't. But I definitely wouldn't be calling it a so what, because what hangs on it is well, pretty much everything.